The carnivore diet has been promoted as being almost flawless, but is there a proven thing that is missing? Let's take a closer look. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman. Welcome to my channel where I review and debunk nutritional misinformation online. This is a video sent to me, a video done by Dr. Sean O'Mara. Dr. O'Mara is a doctor who consults and treats people with lifestyle change, prominent people. And let's see what he says the proven flaw is in the carnivore diet. Be sure to listen to the end where I give my final thoughts.
In this particular video, we're going to get into another type of food that you need to be eating. But let me first ask you a question. From your experience, you probably have noted some people that went low carb, who tried going keto, tried going paleo, and maybe tried carnivore. And maybe they said, I tried it, but it wasn't for me. It just didn't work out. Well, for some people, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, certainly I've seen people have that happen. And from my perspective, it's typically the inability to stay away from the sugars and starches. The idea that there's an addictive pull from those foods makes it difficult for people to sustain it. Where if you are able to eat delicious foods that don't have carbs, actually it can be sustainable too. So I wonder, well, I know he's going to talk about something else. I just wanted to give my perspective from someone who uses a low carb keto diet in the practice that I currently have.
But why was it sustainable for all our ancestors in the past? There's something where they did not consume carbohydrates and consumed meat.
Well, and that would also fit with the impression that I had, which is the ancestors we had didn't have junk foods, didn't have the sugar to call them back. But that's not what he's going to talk about.
And it sustained them perfectly. I'll tell you what the difference is. Microbes. I call it the living carnivore diet. Missing today from people who eat meat are the microbes that were present when our ancestors ate meat. Why?
Well, and that might fit into your current the current mindset or zeitgeist is what I was looking for, meaning it's the cultural belief now that microbes and the gut microbiome are the answer for everything. And that was a bit of a surprise to me when Dr. O'Mara mentioned the gut microbes here. And now he's going to get into it even deeper. I want to thank our friends at Element for sponsoring today's video. Element has a great mixture of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, everything you need on a keto diet. But specifically, this raw, unflavored version, which is labeled with a blue, teal-colored banner. This teal-colored, raw, unflavored version does not contain stevia, sugar, or any additives except a science-backed mix of 3 electrolytes our bodies need in quantities that have been already measured out for you. This is great for a keto diet, but most important thing is that it tastes great. As you know, electrolytes are really important, especially if you're following a keto or a carnivore diet. Get a free 8-count sample pack of Element's most popular drink mix flavors with any purchase. That's a great way to try it out and to share Element with a friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman. This offer is only available at my link, drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman. You'll find that in the description below. Thank you, Element, for sponsoring this video.
Because in the past, they did not have sterile meat counters that they go to and get packaged meat in a grocery store. They would hunt, and the microbes from that particular animal would get on that meat that they were consuming. That meat, in short, was living. That's why I advocate eating the living carnivore diet. Meat and microbes.
Well, so I think Dr. O'Mara does promote or uses a low-carb carnivore type diet in the practice that he has. But if you think about the physiology, the human body has the equivalent of battery acid like car battery pH in the stomach. And it's going to kill most of the bacteria that are ingested, and which kind of brings in a kind of a criticism to this idea. But I'm curious, maybe, well, I've seen a lot of people who've used modern meat and cooked it and didn't have the living meat, and they did well. Doesn't mean they couldn't do better. So let's see what he bases this on.
The emphasis is on the microbes. It's not a side dish. It's not a potato. It's not a side order of vegetables. It's meat and microbes. Animals today, when they hunt, tear through the hides of their prey and eat the guts with living microbes inside those guts of that animal. They swallow the hair and the microbes from the animal's hides when they would eat that particular prey. And so even animals eat living meat.
Well, it doesn't mean it has to be that way, right? So I know I'm pretty skeptical about this as an important factor. I've seen people not worry about the microbes there and do really great. Maybe there's an incremental benefit beyond the general benefit. I wonder if there's any science wrapped around this.
You need to be eating living meat and microbes. It's very hard for you to get access to hides and hair and the living guts of these animals, but you can do something else to get these microbes in. Fermented foods. Fermented foods have living microbes in them. If they're really fermented and they haven't been pasteurized or sterilized or chemically changed after that fermentation process. So you need to learn about fermented foods. In an upcoming video, we'll teach you about how to hunt fermented foods, just like we're going to teach you how to hunt meat. But understand now that you want to be consuming fermented foods.
You know, fermented foods wasn't a big focus 25 years ago when I first started to learn about low-carb and keto diets. The genesis of the low-carb diet for weight loss started actually in the 1860s. It was called the Banting diet, really just low-carb kind of foods. And it was in the, mid-1900s, there were a few books about fermented foods. And then about 2010, there was a resurgence in the idea of fermented foods in the context of the paleo, primal kind of diet that received popularity as a kind of a brand name. And so then the research now on the gut microbiome seems like that's a buzzword you can get research money for, has certainly drawn attention to it. But I think what we're seeing here is what's called face validity, meaning it makes sense. But is it really true? Or how big is the effect if you do have the fermented foods beyond what was known before? That I'm looking for information, looking for data about that.
With your meat, it's an imperative that you consume them together. And it's not just fermented foods, but also water with microbes. The water you drink today is either from your faucet with chlorine, which we want you to cut out completely because chlorine will kill your microbes and destroy your body. It's a chemical. Or it's bottled water, or it's filtered water. But one thing it's missing, unless you drink well water, are microbes.
Well, and now Dr. Romero is getting into the idea that you should have microbes in the water. I have said, I've never really heard about anyone being concerned about that, but there's a lot I don't know still. And then what's the incremental benefit? Have there been studies of people, I know a lot of people who use tap water and bottled water and a low-carb keto type of diet, and they do really well. So is there incremental benefit beyond doing a low-carb diet to have concern about the fermented foods and the microbes in the water, I wonder?
Well water is filled with microbes because it comes from the ground. So if you have a well, you're lucky because you get those microbes, and it's going to benefit your body. And it's going to turn your dead meat into living meat when you consume it and chew it together. So mix in that water from your well, or from natural springs near me. In a future video, we'll show you how to go to a natural spring and collect that water. But for now, understand that you can get water from the ground, either from a natural spring or from a well, or even from a pristine lake like Lake of the Woods that borders where I live in Minnesota with Canada, where the water is so clean you can drink it from that lake. And you can also get glacier water and approved sites where it's clean and safe for human consumption.
Well, so is this going a little bit too far? Well, in terms of being practical and pragmatic, I'm not sure it's going to be worth going out to find my own water. So this is targeted toward a different clientele, isn't it? This is not targeted toward my typical patient who's coming in wanting to learn how to reverse diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, the clinical use of a low-carb keto diet. I suppose this would be something that would appeal to someone who's trying to live longer or optimize an already nice metabolic state to see if, maybe I should go get water with microbes, and I'm waiting for a study.
So you want to leverage these microbes in bodies of water. Nobody understands this today. We got to get this out.
So, really? I wonder if this is just kind of taking something to the extreme, which kind of makes sense if you're worried about your gut microbiome, which is the bacteria in the gut. You're going to now look at the world with that, and there's some water has it, some doesn't, and you have a following, you have followers, and you might have people want new things all the time to follow. The studies that we did with low carb as taught 20 years ago and even taught today without any regard to the gut microbiome or to the adding of fermented foods worked really well. And there are a lot of publications about the use of a low carb diet without regard to these ideas. Doesn't mean these ideas can't work, but I'm left with, I have one foot in academia that I need some study to back this up. The idea called face validity means it just makes sense to get the best water you can. It doesn't hold up to my level of expectation before I'm going to give it as a recommendation to you, my patient. So I haven't seen any studies yet. I'm thinking this is really just the concept of the fermented food and gut microbiome, which is this kind of ornament on the big Christmas tree of low carb that has lots of science behind it. I'm not sure the ornament is really necessary, or I don't know the incremental benefit either if you did it in addition to a low carb diet.
I need to address cravings, because if you have been eating processed foods, you're likely getting cravings for carbohydrate foods that are tasty and oftentimes sweet. You're going to answer these cravings through the addition of fermented foods. These microbes go down and they kill the pathogenic microbes that lead you and are behind the cravings to eat bad food. Your microbiome is dysbiotic and disrupted if you're having cravings for these bad foods.
Well, I don't talk about that as the mechanism. It could be true, or it also could be that because you're not having the foods that make you crave them, your craving for them fades away without having to add in any kind of new treatment. And that I see all the time, where you will not crave the carbs after a day or two after not having them. For some people, it's longer than that. But so that might just be let's create a mechanism involving the gut microbiome as really what's happening is you're going cold turkey with all the carbs, and the withdrawal fades away. The cravings for those foods fade away.
So you have insight about these microbes. They're either going to be good or they're going to be bad. It's your choice about what goes down into your gut and through your mouth by what you eat. Remember, you make deposits into your bank account with the best contributions instead of losing your money by eating bad foods. Ferments and microbe-rich water are the way to do this.
Well, he certainly is convincing or charismatic with this message, and I really couldn't find much evidence in the literature. I didn't do an exhaustive search, but I hoped there would be some presentation of a study that shows if you worry about the microbes in the water, or let alone drinking tap water, which I do in Durham, North Carolina, that that's going to be particularly harmful. Now, I also know some people who are worried about all of that and have double osmotic kinds of cleanliness for their water. I'm yet to really see a clinically relevant benefit from that. But if you want to do that, I suppose you could. I'm not going to be recommending that based on any studies done. And the studies about fermented foods are interesting. And if you wanted to have them, great. But I'm still not convinced that they're necessary, or even I'm not sure what the incremental benefit would be. Those studies just really haven't been done yet. So hope that's helpful. This is a great clinician who's helping lots of different people with a method that has some science behind it and not some science behind some of the things. If you like, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our YouTube membership for early access and exclusive live Q&As with me. Just click the join button below, or support us with a PayPal in the description.